It's Dark Elves Abridged episode 21, and last time we pushed up on that elf island, getting two armies there now and taking out an elven army on the way. We got surprisingly owned by a bunch of trolls and giants closer to home, so we'll come back to that. But we've just finished taking out one of the other elf armies in our way between us and their capital, and now we've got one more to go after. This was one where it's nearly an auto-resolve, so I did the old save and auto-resolve thing. But I wasn't happy with the result. We lost some dread spears, which is fine, but I also lost my dragon rather than anything else, and they take ages to get back and they're special. So this turned into a manual battle. Had the same problem I had in the last battle at the end of the last part, where I'm attacking, so the enemy just stood there at the back of the map. But I managed to tempt them to come up this big hill towards me by just kind of annoying them with my missile chariot. So I went over there, they started shooting at me with their bolt throwers, and this kind of prompted them to say, you know what, we're not going to defend. So I didn't really even do anything. Soon they were coming up the hill towards me. Their formation kind of folded in on itself to avoid some obstacles, making them super concentrated so we get some good black arc attacks, blowing up a unit right there. Then I'm going to hit them with the red thing as well, since they're all kind of stuck together. Plenty of targets, and with that balance bar already really far in our favour, the extra damage this does on top of that's going to mean they're basically dead before this fight starts. Looks like they're just sitting there with their dragon getting shot by my bolt throwers. Thank you very much to the AI for that. Soon enough their army's up here, but we've got two armies worth of shades and bolt throwers hitting them, like 8 bolt thrower units and like 20 shades units, so the amount of ranged fire we can put down is off the hook, and now we have just some more of my favourite style of footage from this series. The High Elves getting absolutely owned, not being able to do any damage to us, and just being wiped off the face of the earth. I really am a Dark Elf at heart, I've got that eternal hatred. So yeah, it's good to see this army is going right down. I think the only casualties we took were to some of the enemy's bolts coming in, and one of their phoenixes got around the back of the army at some point, but everything else is dead, giving us this result. Another absolute stomp. Goodbye to that army, and goodbye to the remnants of the army from last time as well, which was taking part in that battle. So there we go, we've cleared the way, and we have all of our movement points to continue moving on this turn. I can't go for my target of Lothern because I can't quite reach it, but I can set up like this with an ambush and a raid. The raid is very valuable because Lothern's high level and stuff. We can get loads of money just standing here, so there's some argument for actually not attacking them to just steal tons of cash, but I do want to attack them. We get a visit from Tyrion, the Lothern faction leader. Doesn't even have a full stack, but he is here to take this place I took off them earlier. I'm guessing they've now dealt with the Skaven problem that was going on up the west coast of the island. So the issue now is that he might come and disrupt my plans. And here I think I made some incorrect decisions when I dealt with this. First I went to besiege Lothern with Lockyer. Inside there's a pretty good garrison and a very small regular army with a few good units. What I thought I would do is just leave this place under siege, thinking they might not sally, and if they do, then it's a field battle I can probably win. And the other stack will come over here to try and get an ambush against Tyrion if he comes south. This is when I learned that actually we only have a 50% chance of doing the ambush. I'd always figured if you go into the trees and then go into ambush mode, it made it more likely to work, but that doesn't appear to be the case. I think it was the case in older Total War games at least. So I'm going to go for this 50% ambush anyway to see what Tyrion does. And I do think that was the wrong decision, because what we end up facing is just the sally at Lothern with Lockyer on his own. And I started thinking, well, either we should have had both stacks here, or I should have just done the siege attack, because while in normal Total War logic, trying to get a siege sally is a good thing, we've seen so far that attacking an enemy wall kind of gives us the advantage because of our build, so actually fighting them on the field here might be worse than doing the siege assault. Well, we're going to find out. It's time to take a trip to the beach for the decisive Battle of Lothern. We've got a little bit of a hill we can set up on overlooking this beach, across which the enemy will advance towards us. Their first army started coming at us on its own without its reinforcement, so that was nice. It was trying to use its bolt thrower to shoot, in particular, this one unit of dread spears, so I pulled them back to stand behind a tree, and that went quite well in blocking some of the shots and making them die a bit slower. There's not much I can do about the bolt throwers. It's surrounded by dragons right now, so we can't stop them, but I was setting up for something. You can see I've snuck my chariots to a hidden position beside the enemy, so I was just waiting for an opportunity to perhaps take out the bolt throwers or do something back there. In the meantime, we just have to take these shots, which are coming at us from a very long range, and hope the enemy get on with their attack and don't just pound us into submission. Luckily, they didn't. Soon enough, they start coming at us with all these swordmasters. Nice units for the shades to attack with, lots of armor and no shield. But we do start suffering here because these Sisters of Avalon, which the enemy pretty much always bring, this time seem to be much more effective than usual. I think normally they just kill my dread spears or something and I don't pay attention, but in this case they shot at my shades, and in mere seconds our shades are going down. I'm guessing they're actually really weak, or perhaps the Sisters of Avalon are a much stronger archer unit than our shades are. Just 2 of their units can mow us down in the same vein that like 10 of my shades units mow enemies down. So this is big trouble because my whole strategy is to keep the shades alive for the whole battle, constantly shooting. But now they're actually dying before the fight's even really started, because the elves at the end of the day do have their ranged advantage to use against us if they really try. At least further down the line it's going more to plan, with those dragon princes coming in and getting shot on their own. The enemy commander attacked on our left and was killed pretty fast by Lothern with the old Sword of Cain advantage, so that went pretty well. Not going so well is the fact they have their Dragon Prince Cav here in amongst the shades, so our flank is just going to be gone. Obviously that Prince unit is like a top tier Cav, so they'll just annihilate all of our shades. The shades have some melee ability with their dual weapons thing, but probably not enough survivability to apply any of that damage. It was me again wondering, do these enemy bolt throwers outrange mine? They seem to be shooting me from very far away. Perhaps it's just because they're shooting uphill and the game doesn't take height into account when calculating ranges. They've got 2 bolt throwers not fighting at the back, which is really handy. I think they might have glitched out, which is perfect for us because we really need to not get shot quite so much. The left's gone and now the centre's being hit by the bolts and the Sisters of Avalon. They tried to hit us with a dragon here, but the combination of my shades and hydras sends it back, so that worked well. But yes, as you can see, the shades are just exploding as the enemy arrows hit us. These Dragon Princes are probably going to do okay against that Hydra. I'm guessing they have a bonus against large things because they have a long weapon. That tends to be how it works. Now we need to just try and somehow clear up to the left, mainly just using Lothern as our most powerful offensive unit. I've got another dragon, of course, and with this one, I was being pretty dangerous. My whole plan was to just cause a distraction at the back here. They've got a lot of unengaged Lothern Sea Guard, who are all going to be nice and strong against the dragon, both at range and in melee with their bonus against large. But having the dragon here will stop them from coming over to join the fight. That's the whole plan. Also took down another enemy dragon with my dragon while I was out there. And in the meantime, need to try and clear this whole situation up. Lothern is taking serious damage fighting against enemy dragon princes, but he does have the return damage to kill them, so we're working our way through them. And slowly but surely we're killing the Sisters of Avalon as well. I targeted my bolt throwers onto them, and the chariots finally make their appearance to hit them in melee, which will at least keep them skirmishing or not shooting at us. Now our dragon has dealt with its enemy dragon counterpart, and I'm going to go down and take out this mage right here. The mage hasn't got close enough to us to do any real damage, and I was eager to finish her off before like a massive explosion goes off or something, or otherwise our formation gets taken out. So happy to leave the dragon in amongst all of the enemy's anti-large units, if only to achieve that. That Hydra there was facing Phoenix Guard. That's another bad matchup. Lothern is doing the business though. He's worked his way through the Dragon Prince Cav and is now fighting in our center. And with all that melee fighting he's doing, it charges up this Sword of Cain magic ability, and we get a critical attack, taking out 2 of the enemy's Lothern Sea Guards just as they begin to join the fight there and taking them out of the fight entirely. You can see my distraction plan doesn't really work, and we've only got 1 unit focusing on my dragon back here. But in a one-on-one we can win. The enemy's bonus against large is no match for the fact that we are really large and we're a much higher tier unit than them, so we can take them out one by one. Now we've got a real shades and sacrifice strategy where the shades are also the sacrifice, and the bolt throwers try to do damage against those Phoenix Guard. We're starting to slowly pull away with this one now. Most of the enemy infantry in the center is gone, and while these Dragon Princes are going to do great against my Hydra and Lothern, who is nearly dead, they're also terrified. Lothern has all sorts of terror things that are stacking on nearby enemies, so we managed to rout them and avoid Lothern dying, And really, that's bringing this battle to a close. Lots of the other things left on the field are just units coming back from routing. And with our bolt throwers still mostly intact at the back, we're going to be doing nice ranged damage. So we just need to set up with our few remaining units and finish off the enemy stuff one by one as they get close enough. We've got like 1 unit of shades in total, adding up a bunch of scraps, and like 2.5 bolt thrower units still going. Lockhere's just about alive, risking friendly fire there, and the other dragon is still alive. I used that dragon to take out the unengaged bolt throwers at the back who were moving in to engage, so we dispatched them before they did any real damage, which is probably another critical hit against the enemy army. We just about won that battle. It was a real close one, and we did lose several units, including our Reaver, although he is immortal, so he'll just come back at some point. But yes, dodgy stuff. And I think it was all just down to the mistakes I mentioned. We could have had a much easier battle if I did things a little bit differently, but I didn't. I didn't even bring over the nearby Black Ark to give us Black Ark abilities in that fight. That certainly would have made things go easier. I will need to bring it over to replace the Shades in Lockhere's army. But for now, at the very least, we saw a nice decisive battle of Lothern, and we still technically won, so we can bounce back. The whole Tyrian ambush plan didn't come to anything, he just walked off somewhere, so I can bring Miss Missiles back over to get this balance bar for an assault. Figured that would actually give me this for free, but no, it decided to kill my chariots for some reason. Pretty annoying, because I can't remember where I even got those things from. They're pretty rare as a recruitment option, and they are nice because they cause so many exploits to happen once the AI decides to attack them with half its army like we saw last time. Anyway, Lothern is now ours, and this gives us access to the interior of the elvish fortress island here, so we can get at some new targets we couldn't hit before. Miss Missiles will move off to try and take something else, but Lockhere is going to stay at Lothern because we need to replace all the stuff we just lost, and by bringing over the Black Ark, we can buy some Shades dual weapons from them and get another bolt thrower. I would get more Hydras and Dragons, but they take a while to recruit, and I probably want to move on sooner rather than later. By the way, over the last few turns, we have been trying to deal with the Chaos Invasion, the third Chaos Invasion down south. Not really much has been happening. I've been trying to make an army and maneuver around. They blew up Chipotle at some point, but yes, no sign of a fight so far. Just going to hang out and try to stop us losing too much stuff. And now, a real grudge match is upon us because Shadesman is going to go back in for some more action against that troll stack. All of the stuff he lost has been replaced with worse stuff, so we're not as good as we were last time. But you can see many of the giants on the enemy side are on the verge of death, and I think they have fewer trolls than they did last time as well. So, hopefully this time we can actually sort this issue out. Fortunately, it proved to be much easier than the previous attempt at this. We can take out the Cygors right away using our Harpies. I can even go after this giant. They both have like a pixel of health, but the giant's pixel counts for more, so it takes a little bit to bring them down. But still only a little bit. Soon that giant's down as well, and yes, I go on to take out the other Cygor. I think the other giant I leave alive, and instead bring over Shadesman to finish him off. The Harpies are going to try and draw the enemy towards my little position on the backside of a hill there because we didn't have the best deployment and I want the enemy to attack me. And yes, then Shadesman comes in because he can just fly over all of the enemy monsters and be invincible. And he's got a crossbow, so I could gradually kill this other giant sniping away at it. The other thing I wanted to do was try and take down the war boss early on, the orc leader, to get those trolls onto low morale. We'll hit him with a homing magic thing there. Looks like Shadesman's done the business and he now starts shooting at the orc instead. Meanwhile, our line of archers starts blasting away at the trolls. We saw last time it's not actually that effective. They're going to reach us, but I'm going to be a bit more proactive about distracting them this time, throwing a Manticore out in front to be a nice aggro beacon. And we're going to do some distraction there on the left. We can use our cav to draw the enemy just away from the fight for a bit so we have more fire concentrated on what's here. We can also whip out the Black Ark abilities, including Kane's Whip, funnily enough, to slap away at the enemy and do a tiny bit of extra damage. Looks like Shadesman has already taken off more than half of that orc leader's health. That gradual crossbow sniping is much more effective than I assumed it was. I always thought the crossbow leaders or the range leaders in general just sucked, but I guess they are good at taking out single enemy targets. And yes, the distraction on the left worked well. We took loads of trolls out of the fight. And there you can see me using more Black Arc stuff to take down enemies who are pinned by my summoned Manticore, and the Manticore can just die, and that's all fine by me. Here we are a bit later, when things have worked out pretty easily. We managed to rout the trolls, but we can't just leave the battle here. We need to learn our lesson from last time, because while they have like no health in this mode, when we get back to the campaign they'll still be at like full health at this point, because we need to get the model kills. It's the number that matters, not the health bar. So we chase them off the map and we eventually get this result. We got most of them, a few units of trolls escaped, and as you can see they're basically back to full health, but everything else is now destroyed. All we need to do then is follow up and do another auto-resolve on what's left. And at last we have vengeance for not only Shadesman's previous loss, but for our loss at Pox Marsh. We actually haven't taken out that faction yet because they did hire another general, so this one orc's wandering around raiding our territory. Super annoying. We're going to have to use a whole army to try and chase that guy down. And at last, Pox Marsh is rebuilt yet again, awaiting the next faction to come along and destroy it. In the next turn, Miss Missiles moves on to attack the next elven place. Not much here, just a half stack by the looks of things with a few bad units. I was like, surely I'd have to fight this. As usual, we do the quick save auto-resolve. And I do lose 2 Reaper bolt throws right there, but I didn't even give that a second thought. I was like, okay fine, we're not going back for that because we can get them back in 1 turn. And since we have to spend a turn sitting here doing nothing anyway, might as well do that. I don't mind exchanging in-game money for real-life time. Anyway, we've got Chaos coming in at the south, and now we're kind of setting up for our decisive battles here. We've got 1 stack coming towards Mangrove Coast, and I'm going to defend that with my trash stack, while the other one's going towards Marks of the Old Ones. Marks of the Old Ones is a heavily garrisoned place with walls and a full stack garrison, so willing to leave that be while Mangrove Coast will be defended by the trash, and we'll see if we can stop Chaos basically. Shadesman is going to begin his pursuit of this one orc, and that's going to go on for a while, let me tell you. This one orc's just going to run away in forced march, and I'm going to chase him for a bit. So one day we'll see Shadesman do something again, I expect. Get some intel there on what Tyrion's up to. He's killing some Dark Elves up at the top left of the island, so leaving us alone, thank you very much. Here we are in the next turn, when this decisive Chaos battle seemed to be more likely, so I'm really setting up for it now. Putting our trash stack in the garrison instead of that Black Arc, since you can't have both there at the same time. Some humans tried to rise up near the north of Lustria. Got this really uncertain balance bar, but we don't have to fight it. Turns out that was really easy. So down they go, that's another province secured for a bit. Now I notice the Elves are recruiting 2 new armies near Lothern, so I want to jump in there now with Lockier's newly refilled army to do something about that. We can lightning strike this one guy on a dragon to get a nice easy fight, and there we go, we defeat him. We don't kill him, but he retreats off with a bit less health, and it cancelled his recruitment, and that was what I was really trying to do. And now we're left standing on top of this settlement pretty much. Looks like it's not that heavily defended in terms of its garrison. It has some extra units in that little army, but they're nothing too special either. Although the balance bar seems to disagree with my assessment there. It looks like we have a gigantic disadvantage. I was looking at the units and just thinking, surely we don't. There are some bad units here and things we've killed millions of times before, so I ended up just leaving that for a bit. Corona coming in with a stack, so I was worried we might be facing a bit of human intervention in our elf genocide war here. Because of that, I'm going to move Miss Missiles back to Lothern. The other option was to carry on up the coast there and take the next place since it was undefended. But I'm going to move back. This also helps out with public order as well. We'll see what Quran do. Then I came back to this siege after having put the Black Arc in range as well, and now the balance bar looks a bit better. Still not as good as I thought it would be, so we're going to manually resolve this to see what we can do. And again, the game has tricked me. Once we're in the fight, the balance bar suddenly looks a lot better, and it's only going to get better from here because we have 4 units of bolt throwers just slamming the enemy. They're walking sideways and backwards half the time, really not just rushing me like they need to. So we'll pick up absolutely loads of kills. Once they get a bit closer, we just sit back and enjoy the sight of the elves dying en masse to the Shades attacks as well. Always good to see the elves with their ranged specialities being killed by ranged units. These horse archers thought they were going to be special shooting at my units, but all of the Shades just open up on them, and that unit of special long-range horse archers goes down in seconds. That is what we like to see. once they start whipping out the Black Ark abilities as well, the Elves are really in trouble. Here we see a Cauldron just annihilate an entire unit of archers in 1 second. Looks like the enemy are in trouble. They've got a dragon on their side, but it actually goes over straight to where Lockyer was, the worst possible place for it to go, because Lockyer can fight back with the Sword of Cain, of course. We can also whip out the Sword of Cain ability. I was too busy watching the destruction. I eventually remembered, oh yeah, I should probably kill something with that. Clicked on this unit of spears and it died. That is just such a powerful ability. Easy peasy. So, that'll be it for the Elven army. The commander goes down. Looks like she was immortal by the looks of things, which I didn't expect because she was only like level 6, but I don't really know how this game works. And there we have it, we took out the enemy army. We move on in, grab some cash, and now we have 3 of the 4 regions in this province. We might as well then start thinking about going for the next one. It's just over here. It's more heavily defended, but it's still a similar sort of army to the one we just took down if the enemy don't recruit some new things where that dragon is. So perfectly doable. Moving on then, we do see the Quran army start sneaking over as if it's going to intervene in the Lothern conflict. It doesn't land yet, it just goes over to the beach. So we're probably going to have to face them soon. So missiles will be up to dealing with that. As for Chaos, they are going to go ahead with these attacks I keep mentioning, and here is the first of them at Mangrove Coast. We've got our trash stack and a bit of a garrison against the Chaos Horde, and the balance bar, well, who knows what that is. So we'll start off next time with this battle, and we are going to fight the other battle at Marks of the Old Ones as well. Next time might even be the final part, I'm not sure. As I've said, I don't know how far I want to go with this. It kind of depends when I get bored of killing the elves. I'll kill them a bit more and there'll probably be 1 or 2 more parts of this series, and then we'll move on to something else. So, check it out next time.